the rash on your beanbag from a dirty locker room floor? Up until now, Triple S, or saggy scrotum syndrome, has been an affliction that many men have just had to live with. Life without Triple S is no longer a fantasy. I use the tried and successfully utilized techniques of Dr. Raji for full scrotum rejuvenation therapy. Throughout a series of operations and an exercise regimen, I can give you back the testicles of a 20-year-old man. Call during this commercial and I'll also give you back the foreskin of a Greek god. Let's hear from some of our related patients. Patient number 1.
For the last 30 years of my life, I've just wanted to die. My scrotum hung so low that when I went to the bathroom, it was like I was making test tea. Ha-ha! Get it? Since my rejuvenation and optional foreskin reformulation, I'm ready to take my piggy to market again. Thank you, Dr. Goldman.
Patient number 2.
After almost suffocating my wife with my enormous droopy matzo balls, my friend Moish told me about Dr. Goldman's testicle rejuvenation. Yes, it took several invasive operations. But it's not like I had anything better to do. Now I can take Goliath down with my sling. Oh, thank you, Dr. Goldman.
So call me, Dr. Goldman, at 1-555-541-SACK to begin your transformation today.
Now come on, Jimmy. As part of your detention, we're going to do this station ID for this show.
Why, yes, Mr. Mackey. My name is Jimmy Vollmer. You listen to the Cranial Emission Show, thank you very much. With Ben Charles, Miguel Hito, and Caleb Crispy.
Spit it out, Jimmy Vollmer. Welcome back to the Cranial Mission Show, broadcasting live.
I love that one.
Like we do every other
Who's
week.
that guy?
Here from the Lion's Den, Ben Charles, Miguel Hito, Caleb Crispy, and the interrupting Sancho Sanchez, our producer himself. That's quite okay. I'm used to it with you by now, buddy. Anyway, if you want to be a part of the show, you want to call in, you can do so. It's 813-438-6068. If you're a fan of the show, you like the social media, then go to Twitter, follow us at Cranial E, or better yet, like our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Cranial Emissions Network. NHL Draft. This is something I'm very excited about as a hockey fan. I know, some drafts are less exciting than others, but this one, it's kind of anticlimactic in the sense that the first 2 picks, they were given. We knew Connor McDavid, who's considered the next one, who's considered the next great generational talent. No surprise that he went number 1 overall to the Edmonton Oilers. No surprise that Jack Eichel, the BC guy, the freshman at BC, also considered a generational talent, went number 2.
Scottish are excited.
Connor McDavid!
To the Buffalo Sabres. But the trades going on. I mean, first of all, the preamble, the trades prior to the draft, the Boston Bruins.
Is that what preamble means?
It is. Well,
Can I tell this one? Can I tell this one because I said it at the party at the house?
Well, you've been paying attention to hockey now,
Yes,
Sancho?
Milan Lucic goes to the Kings.
Yes, he did.
The Kings.
Not the Kinks. The Kinks are a band. The Kinks are a band, Sancho.
I thought about you, Sancho, today. I was actually looking up movies for my trip to put on there, and I went on Redbox, and one that kept popping up in my face everywhere was, what was it? 50 Shades?
50. I love that movie.
I thought you were going to say it was Cherry 2000.
That's a good movie, too.
I
Cherry
couldn't
2000.
find that one, but...
Have you seen the movie?
I regret bringing this up immediately, but...
I love Cherry 2000 with Melanie Griffith.
Yeah, as soon as I said 50 Shades, I knew he was going to go there. So.
Her daughter's a double bagger.
Yeah, Dakota Johnson. Yeah, she is a
Wow, Dakota Johnson.
He's nothing if not.
She's like a busted ass hybrid between her dad and her mom.
She really did not turn out well. It's like you ever seen Demi Moore's daughter, Rumor Willis?
Oh yeah, she's a little rough.
Rumor?
Hey,
yeah, her first name is Rumor. She looks a lot more like Bruce than she does. Like
Melanie Griffith, when she was younger, was pretty, and she took on the looks when she was older, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. But the preamble to the draft, the trades that we saw, the Boston Bruins very active and some surprising moves. Not so much. I think those of us that pay attention to hockey weren't quite surprised that Milan Lucic was traded to the Kings, as Sancho mentioned. What's surprising to me about that trade is the fact that with 1 year left on this guy's contract, which, first of all, I think he's overpaid at $6 million a year. But
way overpaid. Sorry.
But the fact that they, as I inhale the cigar smoke that's being blown in my face here, the
You're
fact
welcome.
that Lucic, they got a first-round pick out of that and a prospect, the Bruins did. That wasn't that part was surprising, but the trade that really shocked me was the fact that they traded their stalwart rookie, young defenseman Dougie Hamilton to the Calgary Flames, got another first-round pick, got a first-round pick and 2 second-round picks out of that. It's shocking to me because you look at the Boston defense aging as they are. Zdeno Chara, we've all talked about on this show, is not the defenseman that he used to be. He's lost a step. Arguably, Dougie Hamilton was the best defenseman on the Boston Bruins. And they trade this guy to the Calgary Flames. They do get a first-round pick out of it, but apparently the story behind that is the reason they did was because as cash-strapped as Boston was, even though Hamilton was going to be a restricted free agent here come July 1, there was the feeling that other teams would make an offer. Typically, you don't see that with RFAs. They always have the right to match the team that has the original contract. If you don't match, then you get compensatory picks if the team does, in fact, lure that player away. But the reality was if someone had been successful in doing so, they would not have gotten the quality level of picks that they did get from the trade. So obviously Boston was afraid they were going to lose them. They didn't want to have to match it. Now you look at the Bruins, they have number 13, number 14, and 15. The first time since 1970 that a team has had 3 first-round picks in a row.
Wow.
And so as a Bruins fan, you got to feel like this is – obviously they know they need to rebuild at this point. So you're looking at –
they've been rebuilding. They were horrible this season.
You look at – well, I wouldn't say they were horrible, Miggy. They still had 90-something
I'm sorry.
points.
I was thinking about the Red Sox.
But you have obviously a 2-year window where they need to do some rebuilding. They've got some young talent, and now they're looking to get some more. And then another big trade, the Colorado Avalanche just made a big trade trading Ryan O'Reilly in a big deal. So a lot going on here with the NHL, but the picks are not surprising at all so far. But really the big story are all the trades going on.
The thing I'm really excited about, to tell you the honest truth, is to see what the Lightning are going to do next season, because I know they're going to make a lot of picks, and I guarantee every single pick that the Lightning are going to make is going to be sent down, because you got Nemesnikov needs to come up. You talk about the possibility of Schuster and Witkowski. Luke Witkowski fighting for a spot next season. I mean, there's controversy there already.
Well, Slater Cuckoo on defense as well.
I don't know if he's going to necessarily come up next season. I mean, there's
Jonathan Drouin, who needs more ice time.
And Nemesnikov, they're talking about that. I mean, obviously Morrow's gone.
Yeah, Morrow's going to be gone.
Braden Coburn, I think they're going to deal Braden Coburn. We talked about, was it Mike?
I think you're wrong about that. I don't think Braden Coburn's getting dealt. I think Matt Carl's getting dealt.
I'll go with that. I'll go with
Coburn's still got a year left on the deal. I think Matt Carl's the odd man out on that for salary reasons.
Well, plus he played
horribly.
He didn't play this. He didn't play that good, man. I'll say it. Well, you got to do what you got to do. But I mean, there's so many young guys on the Lightning. Steve Yzerman won GM of the Year for a reason.
Yeah, kudos on that one. I'm glad you brought that up. Yzerman winning GM of the Year in NHL awards ceremony, and for the first time in years, Carey Price wins the Hart Trophy. A goaltender wins the MVP in NHL.
And they really did a lot of fun stuff for him. They brought him out on the street dressed in regular clothes and were asking people what they thought about the picks for the winners. And people were talking crap about him to his face. And then he revealed himself, and people were like, oh! So I think they had a lot of fun with Carey Price. Carey Price took it like a champ, and he deserves every bit of it.
You look at goaltenders, though, and they're not easily recognized on the street with the masks that they wear.
Yeah.
You don't.
And the ticks that they show on the ice that they don't really have. Like Patrick Waugh had that weird tick, and Hobby Bullen looked like he was having a stroke half of the time.
Well, Patrick Waugh had that weird tick, but he also had a lot of superstitions. He wouldn't actually skate over any line. He stepped over every single line when he would skate out. Goaltenders, by their nature, are very superstitious. So but yeah, I mean, these are the guys that are the least recognizable because of the mask that they wear. Now, to get out of hockey, we'll continue to update the listeners in terms of any big news that is going on during the draft. But to get out of hockey, and real quick on some football news, and we don't talk a ton of football during the offseason, but this to me is worthy of discussion. Herschel Walker in the news. I don't know if you guys have seen Herschel Walker now. Now, we all remember him back in his heyday. You know, obviously, made a big name for himself when he was running back for the University of Georgia, put up gaudy numbers. In 1,000 carries, he put up over 5,000 yards. Had a career yards per gain average of 5.2 per carry, which is just
pretty insane.
Phenomenal. The guy was always credited for being in the most amazing shape, and yet to hear him, he will tell you that he never lifted weights. It was always about push-ups and basically
that's like the
leverage-based exercises.
The great Malenko didn't lift weights. He's like, weights don't move around. They don't hit back, So he did a lot of – he was a conditioning guy, and that's the same with Herschel Walker. He was a very strong, conditioned guy. And
you look at him now, though, and he's 53, and he still looks like he's in his 30s.
He retired early.
He did, but the genetics are phenomenal with this guy. He still looks like he's in his 30s. Another odd thing about Herschel Walker, he only eats once a day. And, that's all he eats. And when he does, he eats soup, salad, and bread. And that's it.
Does he go to
freaking
Olive Garden?
That's all he has. He doesn't eat red meat. Every once in a while, he eats chicken. Wow. But this is highly unusual for a guy that's got that kind of physique. He's been in the MMA circles for a while now.
What?
He was on the Dan Patrick show last week.
MMA?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, Dan Patrick, who's an idol of mine on the broadcasting side, love his show. He was interviewing with Dan Patrick, and he said flat out that he still thinks he's in good enough shape to play in today's NFL. Of course, you're going to say that. But Dan asked him, how fast can you run a 50? He said he can still run a 4.3. That he just did one like 2 weeks before and was clocked at a 4.3. So the Falcons invited him to training camp 2 days ago. Now, obviously, this is a publicity
It
stunt.
is, because I think I heard something today before we came in about them saying he's not really going to do it, but they invited him anyway, just as a publicity situation.
It'd still be great to see how he stacks up. That's really cool. I think
he had a hell of a career with the Vikings, and I mean, if he came back, that would be probably one of the most epic things ever to happen to the NFL. And NFL needs something like that.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to happen though.
Even if it was for one game, just even if it was a preseason game or a game that you knew was going to be a complete wash, just to have the guy come in and stand up and show up would be really cool.
He'd get an ovation unlike any other, I can guarantee it.
Well, when you're talking about
Barry
ovations,
Sanders.
I mean, the Falcons need real ovation instead of the fake cheering noise that they got.
They pumped into
that
the
they
stadium.
got fined for, pumping into the stage. But when we're talking about Herschel Walker and his MMA background, you think of a true brawler. You pay the money to watch this. The last thing you think when you're going to put out a ton of money for a wedding is that you got to deal with a brawl in that regard.
Yeah, this I read this story, and it we talked weeks ago about the craziness that was the cheese wedding, and come to realize we didn't even stack up to this wedding.
I missed the best parts of that because I had to go home.
Oh.
I slacked on that one. And
at this wedding, more than a dozen police departments, not police cars, not police officers, more than a dozen different departments showed up to this Southern Pennsylvania wedding in Oneonta Township in Pennsylvania. There was a fight that broke out because a woman was allowing her 14-year-old son to drink, and a fight broke out, and they ended up having to call the police, and police from 16 different departments showed up to this wedding. 16 different departments.
Jesus.
To break up this fight. It turns out the 14-year-old boy blew a .16 blood alcohol level after the fight, so, hey.
That's what happens.
He was getting it done.
So you got the police showing up for a wedding. Now you got a parent being charged with child endangerment, I'm assuming, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, I'm also assuming.
It doesn't say anything about any charges here, surprisingly, but
I'm sure they're there.
Public drunkenness and things like that, but, why do you need 16? I mean, this must be a small county where they called probably the state trooper.
Yeah, it could have been a bunch of rednecks.
The city, but still 16 different departments. That either tells me that there's a lot of departments either really close together or a lot of departments that don't have a whole lot to do.
Was this in this? You said this was in the sticks of Pennsylvania, right?
Oneonta Township. I can't even say
it's in
that.
Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania, correct.
So they probably called 16 departments because you're in Amish country, right? And it takes a while for the cops on horse and buggy to show up.
This is true. So you have to call a bunch of different ones to see who might be the closest.
You've got a red candle and a blue candle.
Which one do you take?
For the lights.